Mario Kart Wii, a game that has remained timeless ever since its initial conception and continues to be one of the most memorable games in the Mario Kart series. First released on April 10th, 2008, Mario Kart Wii would be an instant hit amongst families owning the highly popular Wii console, and would become a staple in the catalog of Wii games we have to this day. With this popularity, not only has Mario Kart Wii grown to be one of the most recognizable games in the series and its history, but it has grown a passionate following like no other game before it. Because of this, today in this video we will be covering the Mario Kart Wii Iceberg in its entirety, and diving into each and every topic to provide an enhanced understanding of the game, its mechanics, and how social interactions have changed this mode significantly. So, without further ado, this is the official Mario Kart Wii Iceberg. Since this is the very first video on the channel, I would like to quickly state what a iceberg actually is for those who may be unfamiliar, but you can skip to this timestamp if you already are familiar with what a iceberg chart is. A iceberg chart is a common hierarchy chart that starts with information that is more commonly known that gets progressively more unknown and sometimes scary near the bottom. All of the topics discussed in this video was on a iceberg chart I found online that was posted by a user known as Chillin0 on the Mario Kart Wii subreddit, and the link to the original chart will be put in the description if you would like to check it out for yourself. But besides that, you most likely have seen other videos with this same exact format, so I will not bore you with any further details, and let us hop into layer 1. Ultra shortcuts. Ultra shortcuts are a common Mario Kart term that can be applied to a multitude of games in the series that is a shortcut on any track that can be used to skip significant amounts of the track itself to gain a significant competitive advantage. These shortcuts usually require the use of a mushroom and are generally extremely game-breaking and require precision and skill that a regular racer would not have access to. Due to this, the majority of speedrun categories and other official competitive events have banned the use of these, and currently there is a total of 15 tracks in the game that have discovered ultra shortcuts, with an additional 14 that can be completed through the use of tools. Same character glitch. Within Mario Kart Wii, there is a specific glitch that allows players to use the same character while playing multiplayer. To complete this glitch, player 1 must select, then simultaneously unselect the character they want to be, with player 2 repeating the same process and then backing out of the character select screen. Upon re-entrance, the player will notice that both player 1 and 2 will be the same character, and this glitch has been known to cause strange issues such as the position at which player 2 rides their vehicle. Character stats. Character stats are stats hidden within the files of the game that state certain attributes in speed, weight, handling, drift, off-road, mini-turbo, and acceleration that applies to all characters within the game. Because of this, some characters are better suited for different playstyles, with some being better in general, and by mixing and matching character and kart combinations, things can get a little interesting, but more on that later. Funky Kong is the best. Funky Kong is the best refers to how many credit the character Funky Kong to being the best player in the game due to his constant use in a multitude of speedruns and records on certain tracks. Combined with the well-known bike, the Flame Runner, Funky Kong is absolutely unstoppable due to his speed character stat being higher than those in the heavyweight class, making him an easy pick amongst his competitors. As of making this video, Funky Kong currently holds the world record on 22 of the 32 total tracks in the game, and is easily the character that is used the most throughout runs that provides the most success. 2014 Wi-Fi shutdown. On May 20th, 2014, the Nintendo Wii connection service was officially shut down for both Nintendo Wii and DSi consoles, disabling the ability to see leaderboards, complete in trials, and most importantly, play online with others consecutively. This was a tragic change to the game that many saw coming, but as a result, other implementations would be created in order to continue the service, but again, more on that later. Wiimfi. Wiimfi is a developmental project that was released in response to the shutdown of 2014, which would allow players to once again play online. This was released on May 10th, 2014, just 10 days before the shutdown of the servers itself, and has continued to expand ever since then. This initially was created for the use of Mario Kart Wii specifically, but now has expanded to reach over 500 games, and is easily one of the largest projects for for the development of the return of online play for the Wii. CTGP. Staying on topic with online play on the Wii, CTGP is one of the most popular and well-known mods to Mario Kart Wii that many in the scene are familiar with. Created by Mr. Bean 3500 VR and Chatters, CTGP is a mod that adds over 200 new tracks to the game while also implementing certain special features. If you are interested to look into this more, I highly suggest a video from a creator known as Ket, and his video will be in the description. Mr. Bean 35000 VR. Robert Chadwick, who is known online as Mr. Bean 35000 VR, is a YouTuber and the main creator of the CTGP mod discussed earlier. He has been a very prominent character in the scene for over a decade, has held over 10 world records at one point during his career, and he was the first to release the first ever custom track to the game as well. Merchandise. There has been a multitude of merchandise that is released over time for this game, such as t-shirts, keychains, and even connects that I used to idolize as a kid. Inside drift. Inside drift is a technique that can only be performed on certain bikes within the game that provides a tighter drift than those with the opposite, outside drift. There are only specific bikes that have this feature and generally tend to be used the most, and the most famous of these are the Flame Runner and Mach Bike. This game is amongst the only to feature the full impact of this feature, and the only other game in the series that has resemblance to a return to inside drift is the most recent Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where it uses a weirder form of the drift itself and definitely was nowhere as good as it once was in Mario Kart Wii. Speed preservation. This entry refers to the actions that racers can perform in order to maintain their speed, such as the use of wheelies with bikes or constantly drifting with karts. There really isn't too much to go off of with this entry, however there is a multitude of videos online that detail all of the necessary information about this if you are looking to get into professional Mario Kart Wii. Galaxy Coliseum. Galaxy Coliseum is a online specific stage within this game that could only be played on the tournament mode of the game itself. This tournament mode can only be accessed from the use of online connection and unfortunately cannot be accessed through a vanilla copy of the game anymore. In this stage, you would be aiming to knock off the spinning spiky top men off the stage through the use of your personal character and would progress through a multitude of stages. While this can be modded back into the game through modern technology, it is a shame we will never see it again in the present day of the vanilla game. TWD98. TWD98 or Troy is one of the most popular Mario Kart Wii influencers on the internet as of making this video and is currently sitting at 530,000 subscribers. He is most famous for hosting tournaments utilizing the CTGP mod as well as inviting others in the creator scene to join with him, and has been in the community for a very long time and has stayed devoted to the game for even longer. He has held many world records and has been easily one of the most influential in the community ever since his come up as a creator. Bam Shock Dodge. Bam Shock Dodge is a phrase that was popularized by the YouTuber we just mentioned, TWD98, and is a common phrase for people to say in the Mario Kart community.
BAM! Shock Dodge.
It has even grown so famous to a point where he has it in his own merchandise, which I find pretty hilarious. Paratroopa. Paratroopa was a character that was meant to appear in the game as a playable character with even a character select screen model, however was ultimately cut from the game in the end. He appears in Mario Kart Double Dash as a racer and has not returned since except for in the mobile game Mario Kart Tour. Petey Piranha. Petey Piranha was another character that was meant to appear in this game, additionally having a character select screen model that was never used. Petey had featured in Double Dash as well prior and has most recently made his return in the expansion pack for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Hammer Bro. Hammer Bro was another character that was meant to appear in the game, however he was scrapped. Unlike Petey and Paratroopa, he had not featured in any game prior, and unfortunately has not been featured in any mainline Mario Kart game to this day, besides Tour of course. Mii Outfit C. In the base Mario Kart Wii game, there are two separate outfits that can be achieved for the Mii character, however there were plans to have a third. It is unknown exactly what this outfit would be, however the character select does exist with it, simply just showing a silhouette with the letter C. Air time is slower. In Mario Kart Wii, your time spent in the air is slower than that on the ground, and because of this, people have attempted to minimize the amount of time spent in the air. This particular entry most likely refers to a common trick used in Mario Kart Wii known as the low trick. Essentially, by hopping right before you complete a trick on a low ramp, the character will lower their air time significantly, allowing for racers to ultimately be faster and save time in the race. Minimap oddities. Some mini-maps within the game have slight inconsistencies with their tracks in the real game, which could show that they were developed before the tracks had actually been modeled. Some of these oddities could include sharper turns than usual and are generally not noticeable to the general naked eye. Mission mode. Mission mode was a concept first introduced on the game prior to Mario Kart Wii's release, Mario Kart DS, and was a mode that saw the player completing miscellaneous missions on all of the tracks, such as collecting coins and driving through rings, with some even including real boss fights with real enemies. This mode was unfortunately cut from Mario Kart Wii for unknown reasons, and certain fragments of the mode do still exist, such as the select screen, and some portions are playable through the use of mods and the manipulation of the game's code. If you are interested in further information, I will have a link to a video by Mr. Bean himself in the description that I think does a great job looking into it more. DK Summit boxes. This entry refers to the fact that DK Summit has a strange line of 3 item boxes that are not accessible in normal gameplay as they lie underneath the map. This was first discovered by a YouTuber known as Thunderstrum, and some have actually tried to achieve these item boxes through the use of tools. American-Europe differences. Mario Kart Wii released as 4 separate versions: a Japanese version, a Korean version, a European version, and a American version. The main differences between these versions simply lie within translations that are honestly so minute that it would be hard to tell without knowing what to expect. For instance, the European version of the game only really differs with the use of different vocabulary in the game itself and has minor detail switches that ultimately do not matter whatsoever. Ultra Shortcut Revolution. This entry refers to one of the most popular analytical reviews of every single ultra shortcut in the game by a YouTuber known as Summoning Salt. Most likely, if you have heard of this creator before, you would know that he makes reviews like this all the time of a wide variety of games, but this particular video was immensely popular and ultimately would see an influx of new interest because of it. Weird World Records. I am not entirely sure as to what this entry could be referring to, however this could be referring to the fact that some world records in this mode's past have been strange through character and cart selection, with the most notable of which being Mr. Bean's record on Wario's gold mine using Luigi and the Mach Bike. Bagging. Bagging is a tactic used in almost every single Mario Kart game, which essentially promotes the opposite of what you would consider a regular race, as with this strategy the player stays behind to achieve the better items in last place. Certain tracks are better to use this strategy on than others, and if you ever watch professional runners play the game, you will see this occur on tracks such as Luigi Circuit and N64 Mario Raceway, as there is a multitude of off-road that can be cleared with a item such as a star or golden mushroom. Daisy Circuit Jump Scare. The Daisy Circuit Jump Scare is referring to a video that was uploaded almost 16 years ago on July 18th, 2008. This video would see the YouTuber David Phil School claim in his title that he found a new ultra shortcut for Daisy Circuit, which would immediately gain popularity as this would be a huge discovery for the community. Right before the completion of this supposed record, however, he would troll his viewers with a jump scare, and to many, including myself, this video would be a major start to YouTube trolls that were building up during this time. Moji Lounge toxicity. The Moji Lounge is both a website and Discord server filled to the brim with competitive Mario Kart Wii racers that look to face each other in races. As you can imagine, a Discord server filled with a multitude of competitive individuals can be especially dangerous, and this scene has been constantly criticized for being toxic and just not a great place to be around. However, it is ultimately expected as the competitive nature of these people are exemplified in this environment. Coconut Mall Boost Gradient. This entry refers to the theory that the extremely popular track Coconut Mall was actually intended for Mario Kart Double Dash. This theory was initially stated by an individual known as PD Piranha online, and the main piece of evidence behind this is through the color gradient of the track itself, as it matches those seen in the Double Dash tracks before it. Additionally, the amount of Super Mario Sunshine references makes people believe this even more, as the amount of references in Double Dash to the game was almost almost limitless. It is certainly an interesting theory, and I could partially get behind it as some of the evidence is pretty leading. Overlapping item boxes. On Waluigi Stadium, there are strangely 2 item boxes placed in the exact same location, which makes them overlap. There is no real reason as to why this exists, and it does not affect gameplay in any significant way. 4 GCN Mario circuits in files. GCN Mario Circuit is obviously a track that is in the vanilla game itself, however in the files there exists 4 total full documents, each with a slightly different name but no general change to the track whatsoever. It is strange but not really too noteworthy to mention, but it is weird to wonder what they were doing with all of this. Off-roader flag differences. This entry most likely refers to the fact that the flag located on the early version of the kart, the off-roader, was not actually present, but would be as can seen in the newer version. This could also refer to the fact that the color of the flag changes depending on which character you choose, but besides that, that's pretty much it. Draw_demo. Draw_demo is a unused beta course in the game files that is a version of Mario Circuit with no textures. It looks absolutely trippy, and although there are gameplay videos online, it is almost impossible to even see what is happening half the time. American flag. This refers to how there is a beta unused American flag texture within the files of the game. This flag is slightly less polished than the final one seen in the base game, and no other country has this discrepancy, making it one of the strangest inclusions. Mecha Koopa and Cloud Bikes, and Magic Cruiser and Quacker early concepts. These 2 entries are being clumped together as they appear on the same document. As seen in the early drawings for some of the vehicles in the game, there was apparently supposed to be both a Mecha Koopa bike based off of the Mecha Koopa enemy and a Cloud Bike that was supposed to be added to the game but evidently was scrapped in development. Additionally, this document shows early models for both the Quacker and Magic Cruiser, with the Quacker resembling a bigger difference compared to the early model of the Magic Cruiser. It is extremely interesting to see all 4 of these bikes, and it is truly a shame that the Cloud and Mecha Koopa bike were not included in the final build of the game. Concept art tracks. 2 tracks within the game have concept art made for them that showcase a overhead view of the track as well as some additional ideas and concepts. These tracks are Luigi Circuit and Dry Ruins, and although the concept art for Luigi Circuit remains relatively the same, the concept art for Dry Ruins is slightly different than that of the final build, with water and other design elements that are not present in the final release. Early vehicle colors. Some early designs of the vehicles for certain characters show color combinations or coordinations that was not seen in the final build. There are a multitude of examples of these located on the cutting room floor, and the majority of them are such minor differences it is hard to notice at a first glance. Physical locations such as the location of handlebars in the Quacker are also present, but no other major differences are really present. Horizontal wall. The horizontal wall, or most commonly known as the horizontal wall glitch, is a common glitch seen in some speedruns of the game that sees characters clipping through floors that are given wall collision. This is most famously seen on tracks such as Mario Circuit, Mushroom Gorge, and Coconut Mall, and this glitch has been used in world record speedruns of all the courses just mentioned. Lap count beyond 3. I am a little confused as to what this entry refers to, but every single track in Mario Kart Wii has 3 laps that have been completed for the race to be over. Some custom tracks have easily implemented this change, however, with some featuring a wide range of laps, but this is because in the files there was lap textures for all numbers 1 through 9. YouTube soundtrack wipeout. In early 2022, Nintendo targeted a multitude of videos on the YouTube platform that used their music within videos, and some videos indeed did include Mario Kart Wii music, and that's really about it. DK Mountain missing transition. When porting the track DK Mountain from Mario Kart Double Dash, a discrepancy would occur in the texturing on the mountainside, as the transition from rock to dirt at this specific part of the track clearly did not get the same treatment as it did in Double Dash, making it look a lot more out of place and strange. Quacker is the best vehicle in the game. Despite the fact that this is my personal favorite bike in the game, and what this entry may try to say, the Quacker is unfortunately not the best vehicle in the game. My only guess as to why this is even here is that the Quacker does technically have the highest stat total out of every single vehicle in the game, with a final total of 343 points, while also having one of the best acceleration stats in the game. Mario Kart X. Mario Kart X was actually the original name for the game before being scrapped. The X stood for Extreme, as it would introduce and include features such as bikes, and was certainly an appropriate name when looking at tracks like Funky Stadium or Waluigi Stadium. However, this was ultimately scrapped, as Super Smash Bros. Brawl was actually named Super Smash Bros. X in other parts of the country outside of North America and Europe, and they did not want the titles of the games to be too similar. Wimpy mentioned in Wikipedia article. I'm gonna be completely honest, I could not really find anything on this subject besides the fact that Wimpy does have its own mention in a Wikipedia page. If you guys have any idea as to what this could mean, please let me know, but I really don't have any idea. Mario Kart Emporium is real. The Mario Kart Emporium was used in an advertisement for the game that would be on live television, and has become well known amongst those familiar with this game. Obviously, this entry has to be a joke, as unfortunately the location used for the commercial is clearly fake and just simply does not exist in the real world. Mario Kart Wii in Taiwan. A Taiwanese version of Mario Kart Wii was actually never released to the public, and the majority of the discs sold in Taiwan were of Japanese origin. The release date of the game in Taiwan correlates to that of Japan, and there is nothing much more besides that. DK feet texture. For whatever reason, if you look closely enough at DK's model in the character select screen, you will find that some of his mouth texture is actually located on his heel as well. It is honestly a extremely strange texture glitch, and the more I look at it, the more disturbed I get, so let's just move on. Scrapped Chinese translation. For some strange reason, there is a scrapped Chinese translation that is located in the files of the Korean version of Mario Kart Wii. Some of these include this message that displays when booting up the game that translates to healthy gaming advice, resist unhealthy games, reject pirated games, be aware of self-protection, avoid being deceived, moderate gaming is good for the brain, addiction to games hurts your body, and manage time appropriately, enjoy a healthy life. This sounds extremely strange, but it does exist in the game files, meaning it was in development at some point. 95% rule. I feel extremely underqualified to talk about this situation, so I will be quoting a deleted Redditor's comment on a post made 6 years ago. According to this random Redditor, quote, basically every course has a handful of important checkpoints which you were meant to reach. It only loads 3 checkpoints at a time though, the one you last touched, the one in front of it, and the one behind it. If you went out of bounds and drove back to the previous checkpoint, the game either assumes you reversed or did a lap, depending on how much of the track you skipped. If you skip more than 95% of the course, it assumes you reversed, but if you skip less than 95%, it will assume you did an extra lap. End quote. If you would like more information on this, I will link a video below by a YouTuber known as Malleo that does a great job explaining it. World record failed due to earthquake. This entry took a lot to find information on, and some of it is limited to what I have available to me. Essentially, a world record was indeed failed due to an earthquake, as according to the original Redditor who posted the Iceberg, quote, Cole failed a Luigi Circuit world record due to an earthquake. He tweeted about it. End quote. Unfortunately, I could not find the specific tweet as Cole's account is currently protected, however it did exist. Desert Hills backwards shortcut. The DS Desert Hills backwards shortcut is one of the strangest in the game and is categorized as a ultra shortcut. From my knowledge, the newest version of this shortcut for all 3 laps of the race involves aligning the character in a very specific location at the end of the track, using a mushroom to land onto this wall by the finish line, and using another mushroom to drive into the out of bounds area. However, due to the fact that boundaries were not crossed throughout the race, the racer needs to traverse backwards in order to hit them, hence the backwards in the name, and eventually can be used to achieve a good time compared to its competitors. Chain Chomp and Honeycoop. For some strange reason, a picture of a crossed out Chain Chomp is located on the texture for the Honeycoop scene in the game, with this particular example showing the texture for Wario's Honeycoop. Due to the way the texture is mapped in the game, however, we cannot actually see this in game, but it is certainly a strange discrepancy, and I have no idea why this would ever be here. DK Summit Area. A area file is an invisible portion of each and every track that is used mainly to determine the camera angle for actions such as replays. However, for some reason, unlike other tracks, DK Summit exhibits an enormous area that is much larger than the actual size of the track. It is unknown as to why this exists, however the cutting room floor does theorize that it is due to the fog on the track, but I guess we'll never really know. Off-roader can wall clip. This entry refers to a specific tool-assisted speedrun on SNES Ghost Valley 2 done by a YouTuber known as Charlie on June 30th, 2019. This run was completed using the cart known as the Off-roader and is actually amongst the only cart that can complete the wall clip, as the Off-roader tilts just a little more back compared to other carts, which allows it to thrive. Selection screen / gameplay texture differences. The models for the characters seen in the selection screen actually differ from those in actual gameplay. As spotted by a YouTuber known as Seed Butter, this can be most noticeable when using DK, as his disturbing mouth texture suddenly disappears when in gameplay. Cut Boo item. The Boo item that was introduced in Mario Kart 64 was planned to be implemented into Mario Kart Wii, but it was ultimately scrapped. Funnily enough, we actually know this because of a page in Nintendo Power Volume 227 that states all of the items that were supposed to be included within Mario Kart Wii. Ending Red Pipe. This refers to the ending version of the rankings banner, which actually has a strange discrepancy between the regular and sunset versions. As you can see, this pipe to the very left of the banner is red in the sunset version and green in the standard version, but for whatever reason is extremely poorly edited and parts of the green pipe can still be seen in the image. It's a odd lazy implementation that I definitely did not catch initially, but to be honest, it really doesn't matter all that much. POW Hop Dodge. The POW Hop Dodge is the second most used strategy to avoid the effects of the newly added POW block to the game. To avoid its effects of stunning the player temporarily, simply do a hop right before the POW itself is initiated and you will have completely dodged it. This technique combined with the wheelie technique makes the POW honestly one of the more useless items in the game, but can still be relatively useful if used in the correct place. Dutch translation. The Dutch translation of Mario Kart Wii is the only Wii supported language that isn't featured in the base game and is strangely absent from the vanilla game. Stats on selection screen are always wrong. The stats shown when selecting your kart in the menu before any race or Grand Prix are actually completely incorrect compared to what they actually are. The stats were essentially estimated compared to what they actually are visually in the game, as a file known as machine_para.bin actually only visually represents the stats on the line but do not change the stats whatsoever. It is a strange feature in the game that honestly harms it, as without the complex depth charts we have nowadays, nobody would be able to find the real best character kart combinations. Beta textures in base game. A multitude of beta textures exist within the game files that ultimately were not used for unknown reasons. Some examples of this include simple features such as Wii wheel icons or a Luigi circuit banner, but also include different textures for the Luma that accompanies Rosalina in the base game. Mario Raceway Invisible Wall. Invisible walls on N64 Mario Raceway do exist and extend very high in order to ensure players don't go above them. However, for some strange reason, the wall near the mushroom at the U-turn section of the track actually has an invisible wall that extends past the brick wall for generally no reason at all. Ty Bone Leftover. The Funky Kong character model has a bone named Ty_1, which is a leftover asset from the Donkey Kong model, as Funky Kong was created using his model. This really doesn't have much significance, but it's there nonetheless. Baby Peach/Daisy crown movement. Originally, the crowns that sit atop both Baby Peach and Baby Daisy were going to have some movement associated with them. However, this animation was completely unused and requires some editing and modding to restore. CPU racers drive backwards. In the end credits of the game, the CPU racers are seen driving off into the sunset of Luigi's circuit for a truly cinematic ending. However, what we don't see in this regular camera angle is that the CPUs actually go backwards after leaving the side of the camera, and is just one of the strangest occurrences in the game to this day. All Miis have wrong assigned stats. This entry refers to how the Mii characters actually use completely incorrect stats depending on their weight class. For instance, small Miis use Rosalina's stats, medium Miis use small Mii's stats, and large Mii's use medium Mii's character stats. It is such a strange oddity in the game and truly affects the use of the Mii in professional races. Lap Underflow. This is yet another extremely complex topic that I would feel bad to even attempt to try to explain myself. However, a result of this phenomenon could be the achievement of a lap 4 out of 3, which is kinda strange. If you would like to learn more about this, please check out this video by Malleo in the description. DK Mountain Bridge Teleportation. For some strange reason, if you fall off the wobbly bridge on DK Mountain and fall directly under the bridge, you will actually teleport to the top of the bridge as if you had never fallen off in the first place. The strange thing about this is that it is theorized to be an intentional addition to the game, but to this day, nobody really knows why. This phenomenon also occurs on similar parts of the track on both Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road. Korean font. The Korean release of this game uses a completely different font from the one seen in every other version of the game. game. This does not affect literally anything, but is strange nonetheless. You can't skip 50cc end credits. This is a true statement. In every other level of gameplay, you can skip the credits, but for 50cc, this is not true. This is most likely because the developers wanted the player to see the credits at least once through the playthrough, and by forcing them to see it for the first time by not allowing them to skip it, this would be achieved. Moonview Highway Bridge Collision. In its collision model, the bridge scene in Moonview Highway actually has significantly different collision than its final model, with the collision model being much more simplistic compared to its final counterpart. It makes sense, I mean people really aren't getting all the way up there, so having collision does not really make too much sense. Me T-posing. If you are in a 2-player online lobby and someone else in the lobby is using a heavy male me outfit A on either the Wario bike, the shooting star, or the Phantom, then their me exhibit a T-pose position. Apparently this happens because the developers forgot to put the me in the sitting back position in the game files, which leads to it automating to the T-pose position. Nonetheless, this is a pretty hilarious looking glitch and has caused some confusion among players in the scene. Zip Zip is the best vehicle in the game. Just like the Quacker scene earlier, this is a propaganda entry that is meant to be simply a meme. In actuality, the Zip Zip is ranked amongst some of the worst in the whole game. Lost Tournaments. This entry refers to all of the tournaments that were held using the tournament mode of this game that we discussed earlier with Galaxy Coliseum. These tournaments were very similar to the mission mode in Mario Kart DS and featured objectives like collecting coins and going through loops on certain tracks, even allowing you to go backwards on tracks that previously had not allowed you to. It truly is a shame that this does not exist anymore in the game. I am sure it could have been easily replicated to not be exclusively online, and it very well could have stayed had it actually been implemented offline. Marty Alternate Path. For those who are familiar with Mario Kart Wii, this is no surprise to you. However, for those who don't know, you are most likely very confused. On N64 Bowser's Castle, you will notice that there is a Thwomp that is locked behind bars. Nobody knows why he is there or what he did to achieve such a punishment, but he is nonetheless there. The general community named him Marty, and that is where the name stems from, and many have theorized that there are ways to release him to potentially discover alternate paths, shortcuts, or secrets behind his bars. It has been a major topic of theorization among the community. However, in game there is absolutely no function to him whatsoever, and the quote-unquote alternate path is simply an illusion. Shooting Star Oob Bounce. This entry refers to a separate ultra shortcut on DS Desert Hills separate to the one we discussed earlier that was discovered on July 30th, 2021 by an individual known as Charlie. To complete this ultra shortcut, you must go to this turn near the start of the track, hit a hard right while using a mushroom to boost you into the air, clipping the edge of this piping and using both mushrooms, and ultimately falling into an area out of bounds. Upon respawning, you will be granted another lap, and this is easily one of the most game-breaking glitches, but as of right now can only be completed for a single lap. Home menu banner flash logo is in Japanese. When selecting the game in the Wii home screen, if you look close enough, the white flash you briefly see when the game's logo appears in the home menu banner actually shows the Japanese version of the logo. This will occur on every single version of the game itself except the Korean version, which is just a strange addition that is not explained to this day. Flame Flyer was made for time trials. This is referring to how the Flame Flyer is theorized to be specifically made for time trials due to how fast it is. However, of course, I am sure that this was not an intentional feature, and it just so happens to work extremely well in time trials. Mama Mario Kart. In one of Mario's title screen images when the game is fully completed in its entirety, on extremely rare occasion, a voice clip of Mario saying Mama Mario Karts can play extremely quickly. This is just strange, and it's honestly pretty hard to tell what he's even saying without having been primed to hear it. Koopa Cape Shell Flags. In the course selection screen videos, the Koopa Cape background shows 3 flags on top of the giant green shell off in the distance. This is not present in the final build of Koopa Cape, and is just yet another strange change made to the game in the final build. Third Battle Balloon. When in the battle menu for the game, the standard background is meant to contain 2 balloons and a coin, but was originally meant to include 3 balloons. However, this third balloon still exists and can be spotted in the background on top of the coin with those with a a keen eye, as it has been scaled to 1/100th of its original size. This went unnoticed by the majority of people due to the low resolution of the Wii itself. Mario Kart Wii physics don't exist. This entry refers to the fact that the majority of physics elements in this game make absolutely zero sense whatsoever, which can be especially seen with stuff like this on Mushroom Gorge. Tracks with more than one Ultra. There are indeed a couple tracks in the game that have more than one Ultra shortcut, with a major one being Rainbow Road. I recommend diving into each and every one of these tracks yourself if you're interested in specific runs. Desert Hills Negative Aura. Some people claim to feel a negative aura surrounding the track DS Desert Hills within the game. For those unfamiliar, the negative aura topic usually revolves around an unexplained feeling of emptiness, fear, or sadness upon viewing a certain stimulus, and apparently for some people, Desert Hills is it. Many often relate this concept to Wet Dry World seen in Mario 64, and while I can most certainly understand it over there, I do not really necessarily share the same sentiment with Desert Hills. Item box in ending. Similar to the DK Summit entry earlier, there is a item box that is completely inaccessible in the middle of Luigi's circuit. It most likely was just simply forgot about in the developmental process, and besides that, there really isn't much to say about it. Missing Coconut Mall block. On the railing leading up to the large jump, there is a missing portion of this ledge that is not present, but this really doesn't matter whatsoever as it does not affect racing or the quality of runs. Mission 2-4 Turning Point. This entry refers to the fact that mission mode, as stated earlier as being a work in progress, would make missions all the way up to the specific level 2-4 and would be the cutoff presumably for any further creation. Bowser's Castle Cannon. Bowser's Castle actually loads a sound effect file for cannons every time it is loaded, but is actually never heard or seen anywhere in the track. This would have suggested that Bowser's Castle would have had cannons, but ultimately was scrapped for unknown reasons. Funky Stadium Skybox. Despite taking place in a completely indoor environment with no windows, Funky Stadium actually features a skybox that is ripped straight from DK Summit. Because of this, people have theorized that Funky Stadium is actually near DK Summit, but I just think it's ultimately a placeholder for the stadium itself. Ending screen Mii oversight. In the ending screen with all of the characters, the Mii actually has a square on his outfit where the iconic M should be. This can be fixed easily in the files, and it makes you wonder how something this small got by the developers. Luma dies in award ceremony. Due to the fact that the Lumas in gameplay and the award ceremony look different, some people have theorized that one of the Lumas died during racing and another took its place to stand next to Rosalina on the podium. This entry is clearly meant to be a joke, but it's just funny to include in general. Wall clips are intentional. This is probably another joke entry that does not have too much substance. I definitely feel like Nintendo would not have intentionally made wall clips whatsoever, as it completely breaks the game and is generally extremely difficult to achieve. Super grinding is an Easter egg. Super grinding is a tactic that is abundantly difficult to perform and requires the use of a tool to complete, as it cannot be physically created by a human, at least as of making this video. For a feature as glitchy as this to be an Easter egg is a stretch, and ultimately, just like the wall clips, I don't think this was intentional. Moonview Highway is Japanese road system propaganda. Although this entry may sound inherently insane, there is actually some credibility behind this. As you may notice when playing the track, the cars are all driving on the left side of the road, compared to other countries such as the US and Germany who drive on the right side of the road. However, biological studies have shown that driving on the left side of the road is actually better and can cause less accidents, as most people are right eye dominant, and by driving on the left side of the road, this can be promoted. But since this is a Japanese developed game, it most likely does not have any deeper meaning and is just what they're used to. Mission Game Mode 7. Mission Game Mode 7, aka Mode 0x07, has absolutely no code in the game at all relating to what it could have contained or anything whatsoever. Code exists for modes both before and after it, so it's strange that it is absent since, as you have heard throughout this video, Nintendo really did not care to leave beta or unused files in this game. Mario Kart Black is official. Mario Kart Black refers to two major points in this game's history. Mario Kart Black is actually the name of a texture pack made in 2010 that featured dark themes and just strange pieces, but is also the name of a cheesy early 2010s creepypasta that is similar to the no piracy stuff we see today. Both of these exist in their own right and are not actually official despite what the anti-piracy videos want you to believe. Losing racer commits. In the ending screen after finishing a Grand Prix, if you do not place within the top 3, your character will sit at the edge of a cliff staring off into the distance of those celebrating. Many often have interpreted this as the character enforcing a certain action after it fades to black, but this clearly was not the intended interpretation of this whatsoever. Mr. Bean 35000 VR is a Nintendo employee. Despite his immense knowledge of the game and its mechanics, Mr. Bean 35000 VR is not a Nintendo employee and is simply a joke in this iceberg. Mario Kart Wii is a mod of DS. I could find no tangible evidence of anything relating to this online. If you know anything about this, please let me know in the comments below. The only guess I can have for what this is that Mario Kart Wii does use 4 tracks from the DS version of the game released just before it, but I genuinely have zero idea. Remain of Kamek. This is clearly meant to be a joke, but the fact that the Magic Cruiser exists as a bike but Kamek does not exist as a playable character has thrown people off, and some have even stated that the remains of Kamek are used to make the bikes. This obviously is probably not true, but it's a funny theory regardless. False memories. False memories refers to how some people swear some tracks, characters, or carts were in the game at one point when in reality they simply were not present. This can also work for both sides, as some people also forgot that some courses or characters were in the game as a whole, and this is simply a psychological phenomenon that occurs due to widespread propaganda about the game. Shared nightmares. This was an entry on the extremely notorious and popular Mario 64 Iceberg that simply states the fact that some people have reported sharing similar nightmares that all have to do with the same game. Once again, these reports are either psychological phenomena or a case of mass hysteria, and for the majority of people this has not occurred on Mario Kart Wii, but you never know, many people may have experienced haunting Mario Kart Wii nightmares. But that is the Mario Kart Wii Iceberg. This video took me a extremely long time to research about every single topic, and leave me comments letting me know what I could do to improve my work or if there's anything I should have added. Massive thanks to the cutting room floor for almost all of the information in this video, and if you guys have any questions about any entry, I will try my best to elaborate. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.